Hi, in 1990, Prince released his final motion picture, Graffiti Bridge, a modern day musical and a sequel of sorts to Purple Rain. But after the commercial and critical failure of Under the Cherry Moon, could Graffiti Bridge fare any better? So Graffiti Bridge, like so many Prince projects, has a long backstory and history. We have to go back to September 1987, coming right off the back of the Sign of the Times album, the tour and the concert movie. Prince starts to write a script for a new film, Graffiti Bridge, a musical. Initially to star the whole Sign of the Times group, with the exception of Madonna, who once again, like Under the Cherry Moon, was offered a female lead role in a character called Ruthie Washington, playing opposite Prince as Camille Blue. But in October, Madonna passed on the project as she had before, and Prince put the project away on the shelf for another 2 years. So it wasn't until, while Prince was working on Batman in 1989 and he was introduced to Kim Basinger, they formed a friendship and a relationship, and they both began working on Graffiti Bridge, with Kim helping Prince to rewrite the script. And now there would be 2 female lead roles in the film, one played by Kim, one by Jill Jones, who was formerly in Purple Rain as the waitress with a crush on Prince. But Prince and Kim Basinger went their separate ways a few months later, and the script was changed yet again. Both female leads were now combined into one role called Aura, the character of Aura, played by Ingrid Chavez, a poet who had moved to Minneapolis in 1986 and had had her voice on the Love Sexy album and the Love Sexy tour, and eventually went on to have her own album released on Paisley Park Records. Jill Jones's part in the movie was scaled down to that of Prince's girlfriend. So that was that sorted. But now Prince was finding it difficult to get the project greenlit and get the funding from Warner Brothers, who were not interested in the project. So a strategy was thought up to sell it to them as a sequel to Purple Rain, and it worked. Warner Brothers greenlit the project, gave Prince a budget of $8 million, although it was rumoured it cost closer to 10 to shoot the film. Prince was also allowed to direct, again as he was on Under the Cherry Moon. So that was that, all in place now. So the final cast for Graffiti Bridge would be Prince reprising his role as the Kid. His girlfriend would be Jill Jones. Aura, played by Ingrid Chavez. Morris Day and Jerome Benton would front the original lineup of the time. There would be an introduction for a new generation of fans to George Clinton and Mavis Staples, who'd be playing Melody Call. A very young Tevin Campbell debuts here as Melody Call's son, Tevin, of course. T.C. Ellis here plays a rapper waiting on his big break at Prince's club. And Prince's band in this, obviously there was no revolution, but it was the beginning of the new power generation, with Michael B there now, Levi from the Sign of the Times period still, Rosie Gaines, a fake keyboard player called Philip C. Why they couldn't find a real keyboard player, I have no idea, but there we go. Tony M was there, Kurt Johnson, Damon Dixon as dancers. And Robin Power was playing Morris's girlfriend and the daughter of Billy Sparks, the owner of the First Avenue nightclub in Purple Rain. So the cast is in place, the money was in place. It was time to shoot Graffiti Bridge. Prince shot Graffiti Bridge in a credible 36 days between February and March 1990. Most of it was shot at Paisley Park sound stages. Very, very little location work was actually done. Most of it involved Prince riding his motorbike through Minneapolis, day and night, and a scene of Prince and Ingrid Chavez walking through a city. But all of it, apart from that, was done at Paisley Park. The motorbike Prince rides is the same one from Purple Rain. It's just been reconditioned and refurbished here. And also, in a bedroom scene between the Kid and Aura, she picks up sheet music to some of Prince's tracks, and you can see the names on there: Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic, Dance with Power, God is Alive, God is Love, Love is Everywhere, I think might be one. But they're all songs that Prince either recorded or gave to other people. You can also see Nang Bliss and Eric Leeds in George Clinton's club playing in the band, as well as Mr. Hayes making his first appearance. So the plot of the film centres around a power struggle for the Glam Slam nightclub between the Kid and Morris Day. The club has been left to them by Billy, the owner of First Avenue in Purple Rain, who has now passed away, and left half the club to the Kid and the other half to Morris. Morris Day and the Time only care about money. They just want to control this area called Seven Corners and own all the clubs there. And they've already used Billy's daughter and all of Billy's money to get their own club, the Pandemonium. And now they want full control of the Glam Slam, Clinton Club and Melody Cool. And they're doing it, stop at nothing to achieve this. We find the Kid still traumatised by the past. His father, we learn, didn't survive, and he's now writing imaginary letters to his father. His mother is now in a care home. He's lonely, he's isolated. He's looking for love, he's searching for God and religion, and spends his time writing songs about such things, which Morris hates and thinks it's not going to make them any money. But in a scene at the start, and Kid says, if you ever give it a chance, one day you would. So the struggle carries on, and heaven sends help in the shape of Aura, a guardian angel, to look over the Kid and to give him guidance and to support him and to make him not give up and to realise someone is listening. But when she appears, she's kind of the Apollonia role from Purple Rain, as in both Morris and Prince are obviously attracted to her in different ways. Morris and the Time obviously want to use her for everything they can and to get at the Kid. The Kid falls in love with her, and so it's a similar struggle going on as what you have in Purple Rain with Apollonia. And ultimately the Kid decides that he's going to battle Morris and the Time. He's got to get out of this, he's had enough. So he challenges them to a battle, a song battle. Whoever kicks the hardest groove can take the club. And eventually the Kid makes his move and performs his song outside the Times Club. But when this has no impact and they are unmoved by the song and just walk away, he's at his lowest point, his lowest ebb, and he wanders off, and Aura says to Heaven, I'm losing him, we've got to do something. So she says, I'll do whatever you ask of me, and she decides to make the ultimate sacrifice. So on returning back from Graffiti Bridge, where Aura writes her poems and sits and talks to the Kid and tries to tell him to not give up and to carry on, they come back to Seven Corners and the Time are making their move, taking over the other clubs. But Melody Cool's having none of it and fights back, throwing them out of her club and telling them off good and proper, which raises the spirits very briefly for the Kid and everyone around. So we're not going to put up with this until George Clinton is harassed out of his club and forced to sign the deed, with the Kid screaming, don't do it, but he signs it. And one of his band grabs the deed and makes a getaway. He finds a jeep and gets in and tries to make an escape. And in all this chaos going on, Aura makes her move. She sacrifices herself as the only way to make them realise and to see. And after this happens and the shock sets in, the two sides form opposite on either sides of the street, with Morris asking the Kid, how do you want to die? The Kid, remembering something that Aura told him, that when a man screams you must learn to whisper, walks away, goes back to the Glam Slam and laments Aura, with a performance of Still Would Stand All Time. And slowly but surely, mourners start to come into the Glam Slam to mourn Aura. Everyone but Morris, who's last. Eventually Morris walks into the club and stands on the stage opposite the kid, who finishes his lament. He steps down onto the floor, walks down, the crowd parts, and the two rivals face each other. And the kid just looks at Morris and just throws his arms open and goes, you know, this is it. This is all I am. This is me. Accept it. Just accept us. And Morris holds his hand out. The kid steps down, accepts his hand of truce. They embrace, and the battle for Seven Corners is over. So, was Graffiti Bridge a success? Did it fare better than Under the Cherry Moon? Unfortunately, it did worse. Originally, it was going to open in 1,400 cinemas across America. That was cut down to just under 700, and the film was pulled from cinemas in less than a month, taking $4.5 million. The film never saw the light of day in cinemas outside of America, and probably in an effort to recoup some money, went straight to video in Europe. And it is sad, because Graffiti Bridge is a really interesting part in Prince's career, and it is an interesting film to watch. I think the main problem is probably that people expect Purple Rain 2. And Purple Rain, it really should be a film that should never have a sequel really anyway, in my opinion. But yes, some of the characters are the same, but obviously Apollonia's not there, the Revolution's not there, and so many of the parts of Purple Rain aren't there. It's just a totally different beast to that film. And I think that was obviously one of the big problems. People were expecting their expectations of Purple Rain. And a sequel to Purple Rain could never have been made at that time anyway. There was no more Revolution, as we say, or any of that. If there was ever going to be a sequel, it should have been back in the day, nearer the time when the film was made originally. So that was one problem. And also, because it was shot on Paisley Park and on the sound stages, it does tend to have a feel of one long music video, like a music video for the album, Graffiti Bridge album. The acting parts are very short in between. In fact, 90% of the film really is musical performance. They're great performances as well, but it does tend to feel that way, and I think that's why it suffered. But it is a shame, because in this film, Prince is really sharing some of his, how can you say, his feelings of how he was as a person, his psychological underpinning going on here to do with his childhood, to do with the fact that his father left, and in the film it's his father committing suicide eventually and leaving that way. Metaphors there, you know. Even in the letter that Prince is writing in part of the film, he says, you know, man, why'd you leave us? He's clearly dealing with these issues of what happened in his childhood, of abandonment and of feeling lonely as well. It's really interesting, and I found this more as I've got older. I've really seen this now in Prince's work, the personal stuff that he put in there. That as a teenager, I didn't see it, I didn't get it. But as I've got older, and now obviously with Prince's passing, paying more and more attention to everything, you really see it there. So I've seen Graffiti Bridge in a whole new light now. I really do. And it is entertaining. You cannot have Morris Day and Jerome Benton in a room together and it not be entertaining. I'm sorry. They are just such a great... They're the Laura and Hardy of the music world. They're a brilliant couple to watch. And they have some very funny scenes in the film as well. Notably, a scene where it looks like they're going to actually come to blows and have an argument. But, of course, between Morris and Jerome, it's not a fisticuffs, it's a cash showdown. A duel. Complete with hillbilly banjo music, they go head to head, cashing out onto the table. Who's got the most cash? And just as Jerome thinks he's won, Morris lifts his shoe up, secret compartment in the hill, and pulls out an extra bit of cash and takes it off. Really, really funny. There's also some classic lines in the film where they get Aura drunk and they get her in the car and they go, sexiness to the left of you, sexiness to the right. It's all about the pimp sandwich tonight. And I have to admit, me and my cousin used to use that line when we used to go out chatting girls up. That's why we never got anywhere. So yeah, so some funny moments in there. And also, carrying on from that scene, they end up getting back to their apartment with Aura, and the kid is not going to let this happen. Sneaks his way in, gets the lights out, because I think it was candlelight, blows the candlelight out, rescues Aura, takes her out of there, and Jerome, who was desperate to have a little bit of fun, ends up having a little bit of fun with the wrong person. And as the lights come on, Morris and Jerome realise that they've been having a bit of a snog and a croak with each other, and they're sitting at opposite ends of the sofa, sort of going, just really funny to see. So they're always entertaining to watch. And as I say, the musical performances are great all right throughout the film. One thing that always did get me though, that did jar me, was a cut in the film near the end. And after Aura sacrifices herself, and as I say, and Prince goes back to glam sang and then does his performance as still the Stand All Time. When it cuts back to the time, they're now on what we call in the UK a float. Like something you'd see in a parade. Think of the '89 Batman film at the end. And they're all their equipment's on this float, and they're all wearing different gear, like they've been performing on this float. And I was thinking, where did that come from? A minute ago they were all standing on the street, facing off, and then suddenly there's this float, and I could never work it out. That was a really strange cut. Not sure what happened there until very recently, where outtakes finally surfaced online, and finally I got the answer to that scene. So it turns out the original battle was done in one song, The Latest Fashion, and there's a whole sequence where Prince and his group perform their parts and their dance moves and singing their bits to the time, and the time doing it back to them, and they've got this float that they're all performing on. So obviously that scene was originally how the song battle was going to take place, and then everything happened after that. But obviously I know the film was cut quite a few times because Warner Brothers weren't happy. Prince had to come back during the nude tour and re-edit it and reshoot some scenes as well in Hollywood at some point. So obviously amongst all that, that's where this cut happened. There's also an extremely disturbing scene that was cut out between the kid and Aura that takes place carrying on from that scene in the bedroom where I talked about the sheet music. Earlier on in that scene they played a game of hangman on paper, and they cut to a scene where they do it for real, and Aura comes out of the trapdoor in the stage. She's looking very upset, she's storming off through the club, the kid's following after her, and she stops, throws a rope over the top with a noose, writes the things on the wall, we're going to play hangman for real. The kid looks kind of angry, thinking, well, I'm going to call you bluff, so he puts his head in the noose to sort of, say, well, come on then, and she means it. And she starts playing hangman, and he starts guessing. A, gets it wrong, she tightens it round. B, she ties the rope up. C, she gives him a chair to stand on. And then as he gets to D, E, she pulls the chair and starts letting him hang. It's like, oh my God. I mean, a lot of people think this is a reference to the kid seeing himself hanging in the basement in Purple Rain. It could be that she was trying to see, do you really want to kill yourself? And seeing his reaction. But she lets him down straight away. They don't say anything, she just holds her arm out and they walk off. A very strange scene. You can see why it was cut. Also there's a scene with Tevin Campbell doing Round and Round, and it's a completely different mix of the song. It's more hip hop beat that I've never heard before. I don't know if that was the original version of the song that was going to be on the album as well, but obviously the version that was in the film and on the album was the same, but not this version. You also see the title track to Graffiti Bridge, Can't Stop This Feeling I've Got. And this is a real musical performance with Prince doing Sound of Music, singing in the rain kind of stuff, running everywhere, sliding down banisters or in the club, coming outside, jumping onto benches, spinning round, all very real musical performance that. I suppose maybe it was too upbeat for everything that was happening in the film, so it was cut. Really interesting to watch. There's a slight part of it still in the film at the end, because you see Prince in the same outfit. As the film finishes, he's sitting on a computer doing stuff, and I think that was part of it that was used there. So yeah, and there's also a different version of The Question of You that was cut, where Prince is performing it in the Glam Slam to Aura, who's watching. So that was cut as well. But you can find these online, these outtakes. You've probably seen them already. But it's a shame that none of these have ever been properly put on a DVD or a Blu-ray. They could have done it last year, but the hastily released Blu-ray of the films, because that is one thing that's sorely lacking in the other two movies, Under the Cherry Moon and this one, is extra material. There's quite a bit of it with Purple Rain, but for Graffiti Bridge it would have been nice to see those bits properly and to have someone talk about them, what they meant and what it was about. So overall, Graffiti Bridge, I find it entertaining. As I say, it's not really a movie per se, it's more of, as I say, a musical experience. But now, as I say, I see it in different light as to originally, just with everything that's gone on. I suppose with everything to do with Prince, we're going to see it that way. So should you watch Graffiti Bridge? Yes, you should if you've never seen it before. It's definitely well worth your time. Thanks for watching. I'll be back again soon. Keep it purple.